I'm Dr. Craig Escude, the host of IDD Health Matters, a podcast where we talk about health, wellness, and health equity for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the IDD Health Matters podcast. I have a great guest today. Her name is Danielle Terrell. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much.
So you have a lot of interest and excitement about the field that you're in and the work that you're doing. So please tell us about it.
Yeah, a lot of excitement because it's a career that I absolutely fell in love with. I know often that in this field we kind of fall into it, but for me, I truly believe it's the stars aligned. And kind of like the saying, the stars are always there, even if we don't see them. So the different things just in life happened, and then realizing that they were all the beginning of this amazing journey. So yeah, I found a career.
Tell us about the journey.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm from New York originally, and that's where things started. I studied psychology in undergrad and really didn't know what I wanted to do with my career. I completed a completely unrelated internship, something that was fun and something that was for me. And when that ended, I said, okay, well, now what? What's next? What am I going to do with this psychology degree? I knew that no matter what, I always wanted to help people, but wasn't sure how. And then I ran into someone in my community at a local CVS, and this was a young man who went to my middle school. He was in a separate special education classroom, and during lunch and recess as a 5th and 6th grader, that's where I spent some time with some friends, just learning more about the students and being there to support them. And I never realized how much of an impact that would have in my future career. And from that moment, that's when I realized, hey, maybe this is what I can do to help people. What kind of jobs are out there to work with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities? So a quick search on Indeed led me to my first role as a DSP. And from there, I immediately fell in love with the adults that I supported. And anytime that I felt like I wanted to learn something new and wanted to push myself, that's when I took a little bit of a pivot and a career change and moved. I've moved up and down the East Coast, so I have some experience in different states, but the individuals are the ones that really always kept me going and kept me inspired to figure out what I can do to make a bigger impact. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So many people come into this field starting off as a direct support professional. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a very important role, but it also is a great way to really understand, you know, what it really takes to provide supports and services for others. And, you know, we learn so much in these early things, and that oftentimes propels us to do other things in life or other things in this field in particular. So I love that you have that initial experience. So where did you go from there?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. So from there, I wanted to learn a little bit about what it would be like working with children. And that's when I got into ABA therapy, and I worked as an in-home RBT, and I also worked in schools, in an elementary school and later in a middle school. So it gave me a unique perspective, but I missed working with adults because the adults have just something special about them from the adults that I supported that survived U.S. institutions and adults with a lot of healthcare needs. So I went back and forth a little bit supporting children and adults. And then one of my most recent positions was working with the 17 to 22-year-old age range in that transition from I'm in school and there's that scary cliff.
I was about to say that there's a lot of transitions that happen during that age for all of us.
Right.
And, you know, when we're talking about healthcare in particular, we have, you know, pediatricians oftentimes are more attuned to meeting the healthcare needs of people with disabilities. But once someone reaches adulthood, it can be very challenging in finding, good healthcare because, if you listen to the program before, everybody knows this. There really is a lack of training and education of healthcare providers to be able to meet the healthcare needs for people with IDD. So that's a tough time. People are transitioning, like you said, from school, maybe to become more independent, and also have challenges getting their healthcare needs. So I'm sure that was an interesting role that you played there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with that age, when you also think about mental health and different things that are coming, and, is it the environment? Is it a new diagnosis? What is it? And then finding those providers that can fully support the person as they are with a possible emerging mental health condition, and someone who happens to be on the autism spectrum. Yep. So very complex, and insurance and all those things.
Yep. Do you have any specific stories that you can highlight that you recall?
From that age, I would say for combining the autism diagnosis and mental health, I've worked with individuals who have bipolar diagnosis, OCD. This one individual who was diagnosed with pandas as a child, and his OCD translated to aggressive behaviors and a lot of intrusive thoughts of what would happen if I punched someone, or what would happen if I pulled the fire alarm. So that was a lot of advocacy that was needed to help him and his support system find the right resources in school, find providers that can help him in different places in his life. And the thing that's really challenging is this is someone who has a lot of talents and gifts and could, do amazing things, but because of the overarching mental health challenges that just he wasn't able to break through because he didn't have that proper support, really took up a lot of time where he could have been in an environment where he was growing. So that was a big challenge for that age range. Working with adults, I supported one adult who was in his late 50s, and he had 83 medical appointments in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, and one of the most significant experiences we had was figuring out why it took so long for him to eat a meal. So he ended up getting a speech study done, and that was really cool for me to observe. If anyone's ever seen a swallow study,
you had the modified barium swallow, because that's the test when we're trying to evaluate someone's ability to swallow and determine whether or not they might be aspirating food, or just to look at the swallowing mechanism and make recommendations that can help. That's the test that we typically do, and there's usually the radiologist in the room as well as a speech language pathologist, and then you have the person swallow different consistencies of material that will show up on the x-ray, and you can really watch those little food boluses move around in the mouth and go down and see where they go. Right. So that is pretty cool to watch. Yeah.
So the substance that he swallowed was getting stuck in his esophagus and wasn't going anywhere. So we were working with a speech language pathologist. So she immediately called the GI surgeon, and she was describing this man, and she was saying, white male, late 50s, Downs. And then he said, excuse me, it's Down syndrome. And those are one of them.
What?
Yeah. So it's moments like that stick out, and have not only helped me as an advocate, direct support professional, whatever role I may be in, but just the importance and continuing to have that level of awareness and ongoing continuing education to make more inclusive environments, not just in the healthcare industry, but in any industry.
So what was the outcome? Did the person you were working with, did he get some improvement from?
It continues to be a medical mystery.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do talks a lot of times on various conditions and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and I present case studies. And I will say I always present the case studies that have a clear, definite answer, but that's not always the case.
Right.
It can be very, very challenging sometimes to identify what actually is happening. And then even when you can identify it, sometimes it's very hard to figure out what treatment, if any, will actually make an improvement. So that's the honest truth when supporting people is there many times are continued challenges, and we have to continue working though to figure out what will help that person be as successful as possible or as have as few health problems as possible. But it's not easy. And hats off to anybody who works in that field and knows this world. So Danielle, where are you wanting to head? Oh, well, let me back up before I get there. You've already done some pretty big things outside of the country, right? You've done some traveling related to supporting people. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure. So I've been to India twice, Tanzania, Kenya, and I'll add Aruba in it too. That was a birthday trip for a friend, but I was shopping and there was a sign at the register that said, pick a nonprofit for some of your proceeds to go through. So I was looking through them and then I saw Autismo. And I was like, oh, autism, absolutely. And then from there, I went onto Instagram, looked up the foundation, and was in contact with the president and ended up meeting with her and two self-advocates. So,
wow.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just, for me, it can be 24/7. I truly love what I do. So if I'm traveling and my friends and family will be like, oh, are you traveling for something autism related, or is this just vacation? And sometimes it turns out to be both.
To be both. Yeah.
Right. So that was great learning about the culture in Aruba. For India, the first time I traveled with a group and we were in New Delhi and northern India. The second time it was a smaller group and we went to New Delhi and southern India. The second time was a presentation. We had a group of 6 of us that traveled. And I have to give a shout out to Dr. Stephen Shore because he was the one that organized this trip, and he's done speaking all around the world, and he's just an amazing person. And how we became friends is through another friend, and that just kind of reminds me of how small this community is, but small but mighty. And so we spoke at some conferences, toured some schools. We actually got an opportunity to meet with the vice president of India to speak about autism advocacy. And Tanzania was a conference, Dubai was a conference, and most recently, Kenya. I have a friend who I think I mentioned a little earlier. She's a mom of 3. Her 2 youngest sons have autism and intellectual disability and epilepsy. And she started a nonprofit organization 5 years ago. She opened up a therapy center in Nairobi last year. And this year, I got to participate in the 6th annual Ride for Autism Africa. Wow. So we traveled 285 miles from Nairobi to Nakuru to raise awareness for autism. And we hosted medical camps where families could receive free assessments, free speech assessments. And what I also learned is there's only 12 speech therapists in Kenya in the entire country.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in Nakuru, we built a therapy center in a school, and then we had the World Autism Day celebration to end the opportunity.
Yeah, I have to say I'm very impressed by the work that you've already done in this field. Let me ask you a question about on the international, scene here. Did you find some of the same challenges that we see here to be in other places, or were there differences, or if you would speak about that a little bit?
100%. If it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. And I think that's one important part of the international travel and why I would encourage people to seek these opportunities if they're able to. because it kind of brings you back to the roots and the foundation. I've heard doctors and physicians aren't trained. Families have to travel hours just to seek therapy. The moms around the world, these incredible mothers who are looking for resources for their loved ones, and sometimes they can't find them, so they build their own schools, programs that are being developed all around the world. I will give dads and other caretakers credit, but I think that the moms are definitely a powerhouse and trailblazers around the world. Staffing, not enough staff. So yeah, we are
a lot of similar challenges everywhere.
A lot of similar.
Yeah, and that's been my experience as well too. I'm Dr. Craig Escudé, President of Intellectability. State developmental disability agencies, managed care organizations, and providers across the United States use Intellectability's health risk screening tool, e-learn courses, and person-centered training to improve health equity for people with IDD. Visit replacingrisks.com to learn more about how you can employ these tools with people you support. So Danielle, one of the things we do on the show is three tips, 3 words of wisdom, 3 pieces of advice, 3 things you'd like everybody to know that you think can improve the world for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I'm going to let you go for it.
Okay. The first thing I would say is saying yes and stepping into opportunities. Even if they seem really big and you're not sure how attainable they can be, things work out beautifully most of the time, and the pieces will fall together. And sometimes it may seem like it's a little project or a small stepping stone, but those are some of the things that can create such a big impact. So saying yes and leaning into different opportunities, because there's a lot of need, and go for it.
I like that.
Number 2, learn from each other. No matter how much I've studied in school, the most valuable lessons are from the individuals that I've supported themselves. And the perspectives from different stages of life are so valuable, and they can continue to carry on. And I hope that they do in my work and beyond. So sharing those lessons and stories from individuals when you can is really, really important. And sometimes it is just about listening to them and taking.
Yeah, just to echo that, I think that's huge. And, we need to take the opportunity to learn from others, and we do, but everyone, and that includes people that we're supporting, because I've learned so much from people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as other supporters, nurses, case managers, direct support professionals, and it's just important to have that mindset of, I can learn something from everyone that will help me do a better job at what I do. So I really, really like that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm still so impressed by this mom that I met in India, and the sense of community that was so clear through a presentation that she gave. And I was like, wow, it's kind of something that we're missing in the US, is that sense of community and feeling of belonging. So yeah, that kind of leads into my third point is be bold, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, and we've done a lot as humanity. We're sending people to outer space. Technology is growing, and it's great. But what about the people? And how are we still lacking when this is really what this field is all about, is supporting people and helping people live a life that makes them happy and is true to who they are. I was recently at the Disability Policy Center seminar, and one of the self-advocates said, we all have the right to thrive, not just survive.
I love that, Danielle. And it's clear that you are a person who thrives and will continue to thrive and will help others thrive just because of who you are. It has been a real pleasure to get to know you. And, thank you for taking the time to be on the show. But more importantly, thank you for the incredible work that you do. And I can't wait to see where it goes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
The IDD Health Matters podcast is a production of Intellectability. Learn more about our health risk reduction tools and training for supporters of people with IDD by visiting replacingrisk.com.